Bobby Warner, now's the time. Call 345-6789.
Welcome in to the Press Virginia podcast with Billy Hahn. I'm Anthony Lewis, and don't forget our show, sponsored by and presented by Warner Law Offices. Give them a call, 345-6789, and also sponsored by United Bank, West Virginia's bank, Alfred Home Solutions, and is produced in partnership with the Charleston Gazette Mail. Coach, from the University City of Morgantown, how are you today?
Anthony, I'm doing great, man. Tried to make sure everything's good with the snow we've been having. We've had quite a bit of snow up here in Morgantown, and the roads have been pretty tough. Today it finally cleared up a little bit, so it's been cold and snowy up here, and doing good, and trying to do the best I can to the coronavirus and avoid getting the COVID disease. But that's doing good too.
Yes, so I saw a video today. It looked like the students were taking advantage of the snow and were in like kayaks and even a refrigerator. It looked like it may have been Spruce Street or possibly High Street. So the students definitely love to take advantage of those snow days, and they do it only as Morgantown can do.
And I'm sure they were all sober when they were doing it.
Yeah, you know how that is, Yeah. But West Virginia sitting at 12-5 overall, 5-3 in conference play, and unfortunately, Darius Nichols and the Florida Gators knocked off West Virginia last week, 85-80, and then West Virginia last night on the road, very key in this league, with a win over Iowa State, who is struggling, 76-72. Coach, let me ask you about Iowa State. Man, it just seemed like, West Virginia kind of had everything going and then let up, took their foot off the gas, didn't go for the knockout punch. Is that how it seemed to you?
That's a good evaluation of last night's game. I talked to Hugs earlier today. And he said, Billy, he says, I just I don't understand this team. He said, we had a 15-point lead, and it's almost like we can't handle success. Every time we do real good, then we sort of let up and lose our concentration or whatever, and stand around and watch and get a little bit complacent in what we're doing. And next thing you know, the other team's making shots. The next thing you know, the other teams now cut it from 15 points to 8 or 9 points, and now all of a sudden that team starts believing they can win.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't let a team think that they have a chance to win. The most dangerous team is a team that all of a now sudden believes that they have a chance to win. And Iowa State hadn't won a game yet. Now they're at home. Now they're coming back from a 15-point lead we had. Now they cut it to 6, and they're thinking they could win the game, and they become a very dangerous team at that point, and that's basically what happened. And we were fortunate to get out of Ames, Iowa, with a W last night.
Coach Huggins on the post-game radio interview said something that was really interesting to me, and I'll get your opinion on this. He said that this is, quote, the worst defensive basketball team he's ever had, that he's been coaching a long time, and this is the worst defensive team. First, I'm going to get your response to that, and then I'm going to I thought about that statement all day today, and I'm going to give you my point. But what was when you hear that, what's your reaction?
My reaction is Bob Huggins has a way of playing defense and the way he coaches kids to play defense. And he's a frustrated coach right now because he really does believe that this team is not playing defense the way he likes them to play the defense and the way he's taught them how to play defense, that they sort of quit playing defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that frustrates him to the point where he makes that statement. Here's what's crazy. He says the worst defensive team he's coached. Do you know that in the Big 12 conference, we're the fifth best defense in the Big 12. So if we were such a bad defensive team, then we should be last in all the defensive ratings.
Right.
But so, that explains a little bit about how Huggs sees things in his mind. But he's a frustrated guy right now. He wants to get that defense back the way we play.
For years, West Virginia would play great defense and then sometimes go ice cold, would have trouble. When I say, I mean, in recent years, at least in the last 5 years, there's been teams that really would go through 10-minute droughts without scoring, but would play great defense. And then, of course, the knock on Huggs was always, well, he needs to go out and get some shooters. Well, he's got an arsenal of offensive weapons, but they're not playing great defense. So it's like you got one or the other here. You know what I mean? Like you can't. Right. Usually, you're not going to get guys that are both, and if you do, they're NBA type guys. But
right.
So I can see where he's gone out and actively recruited scorers, and maybe they're just not living up to his expectations defensively. But I don't think that's a knock on the kids as basketball players. They're just not playing defense the way he envisions it.
Yeah, they're more offensive made and not defensive made. This year's team, and he did go out and recruit scorers and shooters. And it's almost come to this where we're going to have to outscore people to win games this year.
Right.
I don't think our defense. I don't think you're going to see us holding teams in the low 60s, in the 50s. I don't think you're going to see that.
No.
I think you're going to see 70s and 80s because we're scoring. We used to score. We used to be able to play defense. Our offense created our defense, to be quite honest with you, back in the day. So it's not like that anymore right now. So I think we're a team that really has to outscore people anymore.
Absolutely. So TC threw this one out yesterday. Tony, this was a stat that came across. Derek Culver has played in 74 games at West Virginia. He has scored a double-double in 1/3 of his basketball games in his career.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's a hell of a stat.
That's a hell of a stat.
He's playing good basketball, and he when he turns it on, that kid turns it on. He's a hell of a ball player.
And the last 2 games, he's gone bonkers on the free throw line. He made a 1-on-1 last night that was probably the 2 free throws key of the night, to be honest with you. I mean, they had momentum going. He gets fouled. He goes to the line for a 1-on-1, and he makes both shots, which was absolutely critical.
They've done something with his shot. He's changed his shot motion.
Well, Coach Huggins, before the Florida game, Coach Huggins stayed after practice and just for 1 hour worked on Derek's free throw with Derek Culver. And the last 2 games, he's shot 84% in the last 2 games with his free throws. So whatever Huggs taught him and whatever they worked on has actually been superb.
Yeah, I think what it is, I think they've realized that once Oscar was gone, to get, if you're 8 points down and there's 6 minutes to go, when it comes time to foul, you would file Derek Culver. And that cost West Virginia, I think maybe even in the Texas game where he had a poor night at the line. So now that can't be your strategy because he's sinking them. So that's good. That's good coaching, and that's good that this young man has figured it out for himself at the line.
That's correct. You don't want to foul Derek Culver these days. That's for sure.
No. Well, unfortunately, Coach, the coaching world and basketball in general lost a legendary coach. No stranger to West Virginia fans. Temple coach John Chaney passed away this past week. I'll tell you what, the A-10 days when Temple would come to West Virginia, if it was West Virginia Temple, you knew it was going to be a barn burner. And, I remember, I can't remember what season they did it, but one year they printed like 5,000 John Chaney masks that had like a Rax coupon on the back of it and handed them out to the students. I think he was even ejected in Morgantown a couple of times. But you were friends with John, just a trailblazer and a legend in the basketball world.
Absolutely. Anthony, it's been a very, very tough year for legendary college basketball coaches. Coach Chaney just passed. John Thompson passed. Lute Olson. Eddie Sutton. Lou Henson, longtime coach at Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just been amazing. The basketball gods have taken some of the best coaches that ever coached the game. But Coach Chaney and I became very good friends when I was the head coach at LaSalle University in Philadelphia. We were part of the Big Five there, obviously, with Temple, LaSalle, St. Joe's, University of Pennsylvania, and Villanova. And we would have Big Five coaches meetings throughout the year, like Coaches versus Cancer, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Chaney was pretty slick. Coach Chaney, every time we had a Coaches versus Cancer Big Five meeting, Coach Chaney would send his assistant coach, and Coach Chaney would not come to the meeting. He wouldn't come. Oh, he was a dandy. I'll give you another great one about Coach Chaney. He was famous for his 6 o'clock in the morning practices. And he would walk in there every morning they would start practice at 6 o'clock. And he had his assistant coaches running the practice starting at 6 o'clock. He wouldn't walk in there until, 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock. He'd walk in with a cup of coffee. He'd mosey on in there. And he would proceed to, instead of coaching up, he would mentor them and lecture them about life. He'd stand there and he'd have them in the bleachers, and he'd be talking to them, talking about life and how to treat people and just unbelievable stuff. He'd talk to them about a half hour about that. Then he'd get him going again in practice for another 2 hours. He was an amazing man. And I'll tell you what, no more of a loyal guy than the world than John Chaney now. He would do things for people in Philadelphia that was absolutely crazy. He would send out food and in the wintertime, winter coats for homeless people. I mean, he just had the biggest heart ever. And the world's going to miss Coach Chaney. And Philadelphia is going to miss Coach Chaney even more that he's not around in Philadelphia anymore.
Yeah, it was very sad. And, of course, on the national scale, people will remember him threatening to whip John Calipari's ass in a press conference, which is legendary.
Sure was.
I had to go back. They announced his passing, and I went back and watched that video probably 3 or 4 times and just laughed.
Nothing better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, Coach, I'll tell you what, let's take a break. But before we do, this week we're going to do the Dell Sparks Collection Text to Win question of the week. All you have to do is text the correct answer in to this phone number, 681-231-2632. Again, that is 681-231-2632. At some point in segment 2, we'll do the trivia question, and the first person to text that correct answer into that number will win an 8x10 from the Dell Sparks Collection. So we'll do all that. And, of course, Morgantown coach Dave Tallman will join us in segment 2, and we'll do that after this.
A wet, damp basement can be a real problem that can worsen asthma and allergies. Alford Home Solutions will transform your basement into a dry, usable space and improve the air quality in your entire home. Visit alfordhomesolutions.com for a free estimate.
You've been in an accident. It's time to call Warner Law Offices. We've recovered millions and millions of dollars for car accident victims. Don't settle for the insurance company's low offer. Call us today. No upfront cost, free consultation, and no fees until we win your case. Warner Law Offices, when you need justice.
Bobby Warner, now's the time. Call 345-6789.
A new day begins, and what happens today must be covered, reported, and passed on to everyone in the region we serve. We bring the world in our region to your computers, your phones, your business, and your home. We cover news of the day and life as it exists in your world. Who are we? We are HD Media, trustworthy and always here for the times we live in.
Do you have cold floors in your home? It may be time to insulate your crawl space because cold air is rising into the rest of your home. Alford Home Solutions can fix this problem. Go to alfordhomesolutions.com today to book your free insulation estimate. Don't wait. Insulate.
What's going on, everybody? This is Deshaun Butler, and you are listening to the Press Virginia podcast with Coach Billy Hahn.
Welcome back to the Press Virginia podcast with Billy Hahn. And don't forget, this show is sponsored by Alford Home Solutions. Do you have cold floors in your home? It may be time to insulate your crawl space because cold air is rising into the rest of your home. Alford Home Solutions can fix this problem. Go to alfordhomesolutions.com for a free estimate. Winter is here. Don't wait. Insulate. And joining us on the Press Virginia podcast with Billy Hahn is Dave Tallman. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're great.
Doing great, Coach Tallman. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Anytime.
Anthony, I'm gonna sort of do like I always do with our guests, and I'm gonna ask him basically to let all of our listeners, I thought it'd be a good idea to bring Dave on, who's a high school coach here in Morgantown, won the state championship in the state of West Virginia. What was it, 2 years ago, Dave?
2016.
2016. It's been longer than I thought. Yeah.
We're due for another one, Coach.
Yeah, you're due for another one. So anyway, I just want you to tell our listeners, Dave, your background, where you were born and raised, where you've coached, different players you've coached, sort of wrapping up your career to this point of 2021 here in Morgantown.
Okay, well, I grew up not far from here in New Martinsville, West Virginia. Had two great parents, Dave and Carol. Played for my dad in high school. We won a state championship in 2000, my senior year. It was his first of three. Then I went on to Wheeling Jesuit University, played for Jay DeFrucio, who ended up coaching with the Indiana Pacers after a while. And Danny Sancombe was the assistant. He got a head job in the DC Catholic League and took me with him right out of college to be his assistant. So I was blessed to be an assistant under Danny for 3 years. We built a program, St. Mary's Reichen down in the DC Catholic League, basically from nothing just built it up. We had John Flowers was our first big recruit there, and as the Mountaineer fans know, kind of what John's done from that point forward. So he really helped turn our program around. And then after Danny left after his third year, I became the head coach and the athletic director, and I was there for 7 years. Coached a bunch of great players, a bunch of college guys went on to college to play and professional, and one was Travion Graham, who's currently in the NBA and has been there for 5 years. And then we had our son Trey, who's Coach Hahn's favorite, and he was about a year old, and my wife and I wanted to be closer to home, so we came back. The Morgantown job came open, and had a lot of help getting me kind of networked into that job. And my wife's from just outside of Wheeling, across the border there in Ohio, and it's worked out really well. We've been back ever since, and coached a lot of good players here. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, Coach.
Dave, I appreciate it. You made something you said earlier that I didn't realize. So how many guys can say they won a high school championship as a player and also won one as a head basketball coach? Are you the only one in the state that can say that?
Well, my dad did it also, believe it or not. He won.
Oh, he did?
He won a state championship in 1973 at Payton City High School. And then he's won 3 now as a head coach, and he won one with me in 2000, and then in 2003 he won one with my 2 brothers, Dan and Nate. So I'd say we've been pretty blessed. A lot of people throw that word around, but I think my family's been very blessed.
I talk to everybody about the basketball gods, so it sounds like the basketball gods has taken care of the Tallman family.
They have taken care of us. It's taken me all over this country and other places, and I've met a lot of great people like yourself and others. And I don't think unless you are part of this game, you don't know how the coaching fraternity is, and it's really been something special to be a part of.
It sure has. I'll tell you what, Coach Tallman has invited me over to his practices, are open for me to go once he starts practice. And during my retirement, I've attended a lot of Morgantown High School basketball practices. And it was fun to go over there and watch Coach Tallman coach his fellows up. And I would like you to do this, Coach Tallman. Can you sort of define the culture of your program and what you're trying to get across in your beliefs and your philosophies at Morgantown High School?
Yeah, we sum it up pretty in a simple way. We always say deserve to win, and that phrase kind of hit home with me, and we've been using it ever since. And I think it's like this, Coach. If you go to class and you do what you're supposed to, and outside of school you're a good citizen and you're behaving the right way, and on the court, you're training hard, you're working hard in practice, and when nobody's looking, you're working hard on your own. And you're just a good kid, a good part of your community, your family. You represent everybody well. I think if you do all those things and your whole team does those things, I think you deserve the win at the end of the day. Sometimes you're going to have more talent than others, but you've been in this game a long time, and I think character and chemistry is a huge part of it. And with these kids and these young men, and help them not only be successful here, but on their career path moving forward.
Let's talk about your philosophy and what you like to do. I know each team is different, but if you could give us your philosophy on your defense, mentality of your defense, mentality of your offense. And again, I know it changes from year to year, but just generally overall, those 2 areas, what you like to do.
Yeah, like you said, on our level of high school, we don't get a recruit, so it does change. I mean, you've got to be a good coach every year and coach the guys you have. But I grew up, I worked a lot of John Beeline's camps. I was around him a lot. He was also a Wheeling Jesuit guy, and I picked his brain quite a bit. So offensively, we do a lot of kind of his stuff, and I continue to study it to this day. So we try to incorporate the spread offense and try not to turn the ball over too much and make really good decisions with the basketball. And we run a lot of his sets. The last few years, we've had to get away from it a little bit just with our personnel, but I think this year we'll be able to get back to a lot of that. And then defensively, I really loved when I met you guys, you and Coach Huggins and Larry, and watching your practice. I don't think anybody teaches defense better than what we have here in Morgantown. So as you know, I would not this year. I haven't been able to do it this year, but usually I'm a frequent flyer at Coach Huggins' practices. And I've really tried to study, the inline pressure defense, and we like to kind of force the tempo on people on defense if we can.
Good. Next question for you. This has been an uncharted type of year for all coaches at all levels. This COVID-19, how has this affected the high school basketball teams in the area, and what are now the rules for high school basketball for this season? What's Big Jim Justice doing down there as governor of this state? What's he doing about this coronavirus for basketball teams?
Well, I told myself 2 days ago I'm done being upset and negative and feeling sorry for ourselves. So I'm going to keep this positive, but it's been a struggle. It's been hard when every state that borders us is playing and they've been playing and doing it successfully. And, we turn on and watch the Mountaineers play and all the Mountain East. So we feel a little singled out. We haven't been able to start to this point, but we're looking forward now. As Hug says, we're not looking in the rearview mirror, right? So we're looking forward, and we get to start practice on February 15th. We're going to have, I think, 3 weeks of practices, and then he's going to allow us to have a 6-week season. So it's going to be pretty crazy. We're going to be playing a lot, and the rules aren't really changing too much. Like if your county's red, you're not allowed to practice or play. So I'm sure there's going to be, evenings where, we're getting ready to go play somebody and their county goes red and we're going to have to stay home. Or, if we get infection in our program or contact trace or anything like that, the same thing's going to happen. We're going to get shut down like we're seeing all over the country with college basketball. But I'm just, praying with these vaccines coming in that the numbers continue to trend the right direction. And, we're going to be playing basketball in the spring, so the weather should be nice. So I'm just hoping the good Lord takes care of us and allows these young men, young women in West Virginia to get some ball in.
That's good. Hey, speaking of vaccines, my wife and I got our first shot today, and I want to give a shout out to everybody that's running the vaccine program up here. We went to the Morgantown Mall where the Sears used to be, and they had that whole thing set up. I had an appointment at 8:45 this morning, and my wife had an 8:50, and we got in there. We got there, and we were back in our cars at 5 after 9. I mean, it was well-oiled machine, and man, it was like clockwork. It was they were going to do 1,000 people today. They were doing 1,000 shots today. So my question to you, Dave, is this: they're now signing. You can sign up. You don't have to be over 65. Anybody can sign up for them right now, any age, whatever. Now, will you guys be tested? Will your team? Will they get tested? Will you guys have tests before your season starts?
No. So what we got going on, Coach, we won't get tested just because I don't think the finances are there to do that for our program.
Right.
But, Governor Justice, I'll give him credit. I think West Virginia is in the lead as far as getting people vaccinated. And our school teachers, for the most part, we were promised we would get vaccinated. So I was hoping to get our whole staff, vaccinated before we started. I think that would be a huge key.
Yes.
Being in practice, you passing balls around with blood, sweat, and all kinds of stuff on it, and then you go to another school, another community, another county. So I'm hoping. I think all the 40-year-old plus teachers have now been vaccinated in our county. They're doing Fridays at Morgantown High, and I'm hoping the 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds. I'm hoping they get that completed here soon, so that we're safer as we go out there and start coaching. So that's about all I know with all that, but I don't think there's going to be any testing or anything like that going on.
Right. All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about your team this year, you guys that are coming back and what you have, and give us a little scouting report on your basketball team, players-wise, how many seniors have, juniors, sophomores, whatever, how many guys will go to college on scholarship. How do you foresee everything with your team this year?
Well, first of all, I'm really proud of our guys because they've been working relentlessly even through all these hurdles we faced, and they haven't gotten negative. They've stayed the course and they're ready to go. We have 4 great seniors coming back. Carson Poffenberger's our 6'7" guy inside. He's got Alderson Broadus, Shepherd, IUP is really interested in him, which is a great program. So he's, Marietta College wants him bad. So he's got opportunities. Luke Bechtel, I think, is the diamond in the rough. He had a ACL injury his freshman year and then another one last year. At one point, he was probably, if not our best player, he was up there. So now he's healthy coming back for his senior year. He's a 6'3" kid. He's been offered by Wheeling, and Washington Jefferson's all over him. And then Xavier Pryor's our point guard who came to us last year from Maryland, very athletic, shooting it better this year. And, he's got college interest as well. Penn State Fayette's offered him, and Fairmont State's very intrigued. And I think there's going to be an opportunity for him there. So, and then the 4 seniors are guy Cam Rice, who wasn't able to play last year with a knee injury. He was the quarterback on the football team, and he just committed to WVU today. He's 6'3", 240-pound dude inside, and he's that dog we were kind of missing last year. So I'm excited to have him. And then Brooks Gage, our shooter that you love when you come to practice.
Right.
He's a junior now, and Alec Poland, he's another shooter. I think those two shoot it as well as anybody in the state. And then Jalen Goins, Rocco Morgana are 2 more juniors, and then. We got sophomores and freshmen from there that are going to have to earn their right for me to mention their name. But, I tell you what, great kids, great students. I got their grades. Everybody's doing well. And I can't wait to get back around. I haven't been around them. I haven't seen them. And I tell you what, that first practice, I'm going to probably be a little emotional just to be back.
That's awesome, man. There's nothing better than that. Hey,
hey, Coach Tallman, I've actually got a question for you. You
Go
mentioned,
ahead, Ant.
you mentioned earlier you coached in the DC Catholic League, and you've sounds like you've been around the block a little bit in basketball. Can you just compare? I mean, obviously, it's a little different because of the recruiting aspect, but talk about the level of basketball in West Virginia. I think West Virginia basketball gets a little overlooked just being that we're a little bit of a rural state. Can you you've coached in that league in DC. How would you define West Virginia basketball top to bottom?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, I think, we're a small state population wise, but we roll out Division I guys every year. I think Coach would attest that Caden Matheny kid would probably start on any of those teams in the DC Catholic League. He was pretty good player. So I think it's unfair to compare it to that league though, because you're talking probably what, Coach, 30 high majors every year coming out of there. I mean, it's
unbelievable. Anthony, that Catholic League down there is absolutely lights out. My 40 years that I recruited as a college coach, people live in that Catholic League down there. That league is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, honestly, and my kids have heard this, but I coached against Kevin Durant, Victor Oladipo, and Quinn Cook, and the Grant boys. I mean, it's a little different. It's a little different. I think the Matha had the one team has like eight guys in the NBA right now, so
right.
You don't see that anywhere. But yeah, I think West Virginia gets hurt because the coaches can't work with the players year round. Like there's guys I wish I could work with their shot year round, and I hope we catch up because in Maryland, they're working with kids year round, and you get up to Pennsylvania and play in the off season, and their coaches are coaching their teams while I'm sitting in the bleachers. So I think that hurts West Virginia more than anything.
And also, too, we get a lot of West Virginia. Of course, a lot of WVU listeners. John Flowers is one of the well-known characters in the history of, well, at least recent history of WVU basketball. Can you share a good John Flowers story with us?
Yeah, so
that was quick.
When I was at St. Mary's Riken, John, people don't realize this, John's a pretty intelligent guy, and we always had study hall for our team, and there was a good-looking Spanish teacher, and John, we were in study hall, and we had kids in there that really needed to do their homework and study, and John kept throwing stuff across the room and messing with kids. Just anybody that knows John knows he's a prankster and a goofball most of the time. So I said, John, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to get kicked out so I can go down to Miss Barbesta's class. I said, well, then go. He always had something up his sleeve. And to this day, I mean, Coach Hahn can tell you with the TBT, you love him, but he drives you crazy.
He's the best. Anthony, let me tell you this, Anthony. Certain high school coaches that I've met and I've followed in my coaching career, there's certain guys that just know how to do things and get things done. And I'm going to say this, and not because you're on the podcast, Coach Tallman, but Coach Tallman does everything the right way with his team, with his facilities, with raising money. He's one of the best high school coaches I know of raising money to help his program out. I mean, talk about raising money that you do, Coach Tallman, and the events that you have, and your locker room that you had built in as a high school. It's absolutely phenomenal. Go ahead.
Yes. So when I got here, Morgantown, I didn't realize how many supporters there were of the program and people with money. And we had some great people help us out when I first got here, and there was a lot of needs. But one of my goals was within a couple of years, I wanted to kind of be self-sufficient and not have to ask for handouts. So we started an annual golf tournament, which has been an absolute blast. And I think people that have played in it love it, and they always come back. And so we have that yearly, and we do a really good job making money there. We do a raffle where we actually raffle off a couple of WVU basketball season tickets, which is a huge hit. And then we've done all kinds of stuff in between. We had a concert one time at Schmidt Saloon that Owen put on for us, and Coach Hahn was there that night. It was a absolute blast. And so my one rule in fundraising is I want it to be something I enjoy doing. So I'm not going out and washing cars and selling pizzas and things like that. So we try to have big events where we can really have a big splash. And then Coach is right. So every year I'm trying to do something like special that really develops our program. And our locker room was outdated, and it was just time for a facelift. So science teacher at our school is a carpenter, Jason Kruger, and he and I built, I think it's about 40 really nice wooden lockers. We've put up like Mohegan greats in there and state tournament appearances and conference championships, and just kind of made it like a little museum for our program. And, we have a alumni game now. We're trying to get the guys back that I've never met, and, the Nate Adrians and those guys also come and play. So we're just trying to build the whole program, and it's been a blast. And, I've really loved every minute of it. And that locker room project doesn't get done without some community members that don't want to be mentioned, but that really stepped up and helped us too.
Next question for you, Dave. And so you can give a little shout out to talk about your staff a little bit, your freshman coach, JV coach, your assistant coaches of the varsity. Talk about your staff a little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because they never, assistants never get credit. You know that unless we lose or screw up a play call. But
yep.
I do. I honestly mean this. There's not a more loyal, committed staff than what I got. It starts with my two paid assistants is Matt Lamine. He's my JV coach. He's at everything. Just as loyal as can be. Heck of a coach. Really develops our guys JV wise. And then my brother Nate is our freshman coach. Nate's he's different than me. I'm more kind of fiery and high strung, and Nate's pretty laid back, and he really kind of analyzes the game, and he's a great conversation after every game to have to, talk to him and see what he saw. And then Dennis Kearns has been in town for a long time coaching ball, and just one of the best basketball minds I've been around. He's retired and bored, so he comes in with a new play every day. And I told him we can't have, 9,000 plays, but every once in a while he has something that really fits and does well for us. And then Stevie Sutherland was with you, Coach, at
Right.
WVU,
Yep.
DA. And when I took this program over, I knew it was important to get him on staff because we kind of lined up with our basketball philosophies. And so he's been outstanding. And then we just added John Folks, who was at Trinity. He was at Morgantown, then he went to Trinity and did a really good job there for about 5 years. Now he's back. So got a really good staff. And, one thing I want to do, I hope to add some of my former players, as they get older. I think it'd be great to get some of those guys on there too.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned your staff and you say that when you lose, it's one of their faults. Coach Huggins, a great story. Coach Huggins, when we would miss free throws, like we had a bad free throw shooting game, Coach Huggins would always say, "Yeah, Coach Hahn was in charge of free throw shooting." then if our team went like 18 for 22, Huck says, "Yeah," he said, "I took the free throw shooting, Coach. This week I taught the free throws this week."
Hey, if I remember correctly, didn't you get fired by Gary Williams at halftime one time?
Yes.
And after the game, everything was fine because you came back and beat Carolina. Is that true?
Yeah,
I heard
that is true story. Gary Williams was known. I was his assistant for 12 years, and Gary Williams he fired me at least once every season. So I was fired 12 different times that Maryland probably know of. And there was one game, the Carolina game you were talking about, Dave. We come in at halftime, and before we went in and talked to the team, we had this little room, a coach's room that we met before we went to see the team. He comes in there, and he is cussing me and Jimmy Patsos and Dave Dickerson out, like just cussing us out and going after us left and right. And I looked at him and I say, "Hey, Gary, we're down 2 points against Carolina. Hey, Gary, you got 5 pros on your team. Why don't you coach them up this half and maybe we'll win?" "No, Bill," he just ripped me and he said, "You're fired." He said, "Get out of here." I went out for the second half. We won the game, and we went down to Bentley's afterward. He apologized to me afterwards, and he was happy as could be.
I love it. I remember you telling me that one, and that one stuck with me.
Yep. Hey, listen, Anthony, about ready to wrap it up here.
Absolutely.
I'll let you take over, Coach Tallman. I can't thank you enough. Appreciate it, my man.
Yes, sir. Anytime. Thanks,
Good luck to you. Good luck.
Right.
Thanks a lot,
Appreciate
Coach.
it,
Good luck this season.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Morgantown High School coach Dave Tallman there. I tell you what, I lived in Morgantown for about 6 years, and the athletic programs at Morgantown High School have always been very impressive. Just the support that they get, and the support that they get top to bottom from the community, it's always been very impressive there at Morgantown.
They do a great job at Morgantown High School, yes.
Well, it's now time, Coach, for the Dell Sparks Collection Text to Win trivia question. I got a trivia question here for you. If you know the answer, text it in to 681-231-2632. Again, 681-231-2632. As soon as you hear it, if you know the answer, text in. You'd be surprised on how long it takes sometimes to get an answer in. I think people just assume someone's already claimed the prize. So if you know the answer, you'll win an 8x10 from the Dell Sparks Collection. This week's question. The 2010 Final Four team had two guys drafted in the NBA draft. What two players were drafted and what team drafted them? Again, the phone number, 681-231-2632. The question, the 2010 Final Four WVU basketball team had two guys drafted in the NBA draft. Who were the two players and what teams drafted them? Again, if you know it, 681-231-2632. And this week, Coach, let's get into, I guess, we're kind of, it's hard to believe. I looked, I think there's like 8 regular season games left, which it's just flying by. But, of course, the Jayhawks make their trip to Morgantown. And, Saturday, how do you see this game? Honestly, I've watched Kansas play. This is not a regular Kansas basketball team in my eyes. So what do you see happening Saturday? What are your predictions for Saturday?
Well, Kansas is not as good as Kansas teams have been. Pretty amazing to me that Kansas, since they got that in trouble with the NCAA, that investigation and everything, Kansas hasn't had the same type of recruiting that they had over the past 25, 30 years.
Hell, they just caught them again. There was something this week that came out. They were on another wiretap.
Yep. It's absolutely amazing. But anyway, that's sort of cooled their jets off a little bit. They're not as good as they've been in the past. They're still good. Don't get me wrong. They're still good. And you're going to have to do some things to stop them, which I don't think what they do good is what we do bad. For example, they love to drive the basketball and drive and kick. Well, that's our weakness this year. We have trouble stopping a straight line drive, and we have trouble rotating when they kick the ball. Mm-hmm. And they make the extra pass, and they kick it, and they shoot three, step in 3-pointers, and it kicks our butt. So what they do good, we do bad. So Coach Hugg's got tomorrow and Friday to work on that particular area where we got to be able to stop the dribble drive and make sure our rotations are good for the 3-point shot. Kansas is pretty funny. They're going to really run fast break on the outlet. They're going to go like crazy. And then they become even crazier if they don't score like the first 5 to 7 seconds when they outlet the ball. Now they're going to be patient and run the clock down to make you play the entire shot clock. They're a pretty strange team, but that's the way they're playing. It'll be very interesting to see that whole style and see how we do. The other thing I think they do, which they've never done a whole lot in the past, they are playing more zone defense this year than I've ever seen Bill Self play. He's played a lot more zone this year, and even crazier, they've been playing a triangle and 2 zone defense where they make you think they're playing a matchup zone. If you look at it close, they're in a triangle zone and they're chasing two players. So you've got to be able to be prepared to run good zone offense and have a zone offense that can attack the triangle in two.
Well, this run or this game against Kansas on Saturday starts off a hell of a run for West Virginia. Then we go on the road and have to play at Texas Tech. That's going to be an important game again, because this is what I would almost call murderer's row, what's coming up for West Virginia.
No doubt. Yep.
So it's important to knock off Kansas on Saturday again, and I think you'll agree with this. The theory is always win your home games and do your best on the road, hopefully split on the road, but win your home games. So I don't want to call this a must-win for West Virginia, but it's important to win. But then they've got to go on the road to Texas Tech, which is not an easy place to play in Lubbock, Texas. Isn't that the home of Buddy Holly?
Right. Hey, if I'm not mistaken, our next 6 games are against ranked teams. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. And
Yep.
I was doing a phone interview today with Dave Weekley on his show, and he had reached out to John Antoniuk trying to see the last time West Virginia played in a stretch like this. He didn't have he didn't get the answer. Maybe I'll reach out to John and maybe tweet it out or something. But I don't remember, and you maybe will remember better than me because you've had to prepare for it. I don't remember a stretch like this in modern day WV basketball in the last 25 years.
I can remember playing 4 consecutive ranked teams, but I've never can remember playing 6. I don't think I can ever remember that. And I'll tell you what, I don't think that West Virginia can say they ever played 6 in a row like we're going into right now.
No,
I'll be shocked if we ever did that. I know when our best teams, when we played the Big East, we played 4 in a row, but never past 4 in a row, and we're playing 6 this time.
It's going to be a tough stretch, but again, West Virginia kicks it off Saturday against Kansas on the road at Texas Tech, and Chris Beard has it rolling down at Texas Tech right now.
I would say this, Ant, we got 6 games against top 25 teams coming up. If I would be happy, I would take right now. If we could go 3-3, you're still ranked and you're ranked high, but I don't think you could go 2-4 or 1-5. I just think that's going to kill us. So we need to be 3-3 or better.
Absolutely. And it starts Saturday. Well, Coach,
Yep.
Another great show. And as always, I want to thank our sponsor, the Warner Law Offices, Alfred Home Solutions, United Bank, the Dell Sparks Collection. And don't forget, if you'd like to support this show, swing by PressVirginia.com. And as always, I'll leave you with the final word.
Well, I always sign off like this. It's a great day to be alive. Count your blessings. Give your spirit out the entire week. And if you're worrying, you're not praying. If you're praying, you're not worrying. Go Mountaineers.
The Press Virginia podcast is produced by Anthony Lewis in partnership with HD Media and the Charleston Gazette-Mail. The Press Virginia podcast is presented by Warner Law Offices. Now's the time. Call 345-6789 and is sponsored by United Bank, West Virginia's bank, Alfred Home Solutions, fixing homes inside and out since 1963, the Charleston Gazette-Mail, and the Dale Sparks Collection. Support the Press Virginia podcast by shopping at PressVirginia.com.
Bobby Warner, now's the time. Call 345-6789.
Welcome in to the Press Virginia podcast with Billy Hahn. I'm Anthony Lewis. And don't forget our show, sponsored by and presented by Warner Law Offices. Give them a call, 345-6789. And also sponsored by United Bank, West Virginia's bank, Alfred Home Solutions, and is produced in partnership with the Charleston Gazette Mail. Coach, from the University City of Morgantown, how are you today?
Anthony, I'm doing great, man. Tried to make sure everything's good with the snow we've been at. We've had quite a bit of snow up here in Morgantown, and the roads have been pretty tough. Today it finally cleared up a little bit, so it's been cold and snowy up here, and doing good, and trying to do the best I can to the coronavirus and avoid getting the COVID disease. But that's doing good too.
Yes, so I saw a video today. It looked like the students were taking advantage of the snow and were in like kayaks and even a refrigerator. It looked like it may have been Spruce Street or possibly High Street. So the students definitely love to take advantage of those snow days, and they do it only as Morgantown can do.
And I'm sure they were all sober when they were doing it.
Yeah, you know how that is, Yeah. But West Virginia sitting at 12-5 overall, 5-3 in conference play, and unfortunately, Darius Nichols and the Florida Gators knocked off West Virginia last week, 85-80, and then West Virginia last night on the road, very key in this league, with a win over Iowa State, who is struggling, 76-72. Coach, let me ask you about Iowa State. Man, it just seemed like, West Virginia kind of had everything going and then let up, took their foot off the gas, didn't go for the knockout punch. Is that how it seemed to you?
That's a good evaluation of last night's game. I talked to Hugs earlier today. And he said, Billy says, I just I don't understand this team. He said, we had a 15-point lead, and it's almost like we can't handle success. Every time we do real good, then we sort of let up and lose our concentration or whatever, and stand around and watch and get a little bit complacent in what we're doing. And next thing you know, the other team's making shots. The next thing you know, the other teams now cut it from 15 points to 8 or 9 points, and now all of a sudden that team starts believing they can win. Mm-hmm. And you can't let a team think that they have a chance to win. The most dangerous team is a team that all of a now sudden believes that they have a chance to win. And Iowa State hadn't won a game yet. Now they're at home. Now they're coming back from a 15-point lead we had. Now they cut it to 6, and they're thinking they could win the game, and they become a very dangerous team at that point. And that's basically what happened. And we were fortunate to get out of Ames, Iowa, with a W last night.
Coach Huggins on the post-game radio interview said something that was really interesting to me, and I'll get your opinion on this. He said that this is, quote, the worst defensive basketball team he's ever had, that he's been coaching a long time, and this is the worst defensive team. First, I'm going to get your response to that, and then I'm going to I thought about that statement all day today, and I'm going to give you my point. But what was when you hear that, what's your reaction?
My reaction is Bob Huggins has a way of playing defense and the way he coaches kids to play defense. And he's a frustrated coach right now because he really does believe that this team is not playing defense the way he likes them to play the defense and the way he's taught them how to play defense, that they sort of quit playing defense.
Mm-hmm.